All right. Welcome, friends. If you are here for how to raise startup funds for your new nonprofit, you are in the right place. Uh, we are going to be jumping into a really great topic today, my favorite topic on raising funds. And so here's what we're going to learn in today's conversation. We're going to talk about why you need startup funds. Okay. We all need some money. We need cash. I think we all need some cash, right? What's working and what's not. And then we're going to talk about how to design a sustainable fundraising strategy for your nonprofit. So, before we dive into this next section, would you guys take a minute in the chat and just tell us the name of your nonprofit organization? I know many of you are like, "Hey, it doesn't even exist yet," or maybe it is just in the infancy stage
Yeah.
and you don't have a 501(c)(3), whatever it is. But just let's start giving your nonprofit life by addressing it by its name. So, go ahead and tell us what the name of your organization is. That way we have kind of a little bit of an idea of who's here with us. So great. So 22 Rescue, yes. Really.
Derek Brown, I love that name. Kingdom Dads. I love it. Love that name.
So good. Some of
Upper
you guys,
Room.
go ahead. Yeah. Of course, Footsteps of Hope, Magnify Missions, Palm Grove Health and Wellness Initiative. So
Hmm.
good. UA Legacy Grants. Great, Mark.
Great. Love it.
Yeah. Bridge of
Fort
Hope.
Quest. Ooh.
Great. Oh, wish you could take credit for that name. So good. Engaged discipleship. Great. Capabilities. Ooh, that's fun. Okay,
Hmm.
great. Awesome. Love it. Okay, so here's just a little bit about Tim and I. I'm Mary Valloni. This is Tim Needham. Hi,
Hi.
Tim. Tim, I feel
Hi.
like we're like a little bit in a podcast, but not really. So for
That's
those of
right.
you guys who don't know, Tim and I, a couple of years ago, started, well, a year and a half ago, started a podcast called the Start and Grow Your Nonprofit Podcast. But our journey, Tim and I connected about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've been a fundraiser for the last 2 decades. About 10 years ago, I lost my dad to cancer while I was working for the American Cancer Society as one of their development staff. And it was in that season that I was like, what am I doing with my life? What do I want to be when I grow up? And I knew very quickly that I wanted to help people raise money. I wanted to help people like you. I wanted to help ministries, missionaries, nonprofit leaders, people of faith, people who want to make a difference in the world, raise the money that they need to fulfill their mission. And Tim was one of those people. So
Right.
I did a podcast, and Tim was one of the very first ones to listen in. Tim was the one who reached out to me early on. Tim, you were like in the top three of my, I think, first clients. I think, oh, Jennifer, who's on the call today, was my very, very first client. I think way back in the day. So Jennifer, shout out to you. So, but Tim, tell us about you and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Tim Needham. I run Restoration House STL here in St. Louis, Missouri. So we are a nonprofit. We're a faith-based nonprofit that works with youth and young adults who are 18 to 26 and either at risk of homelessness or currently experiencing homelessness. So we have a drop-in center where they can come and gain access to all the resources that they need, whether that's case management, washing clothes, food, hygiene, anything that they need. They can come into our facility and they can access those resources. But we got this started about 10 years ago, really because we saw. I have a background of being in youth ministry and in social work, and so what I recognized before we ever got this going was there was a niche of nonprofit work that was not being addressed here in St. Louis, and that was there's a lot of great social work agencies and there's a lot of great churches, but there's not a lot of faith-based organizations that are doing social work. So we decided that we wanted to fill that gap. And so 10 years ago, we started working on the idea. 8 years ago, we turned it into a nonprofit. 5 years ago, we launched the drop-in center. And now we have a staff of currently we just hired another staff. So we have a staff of six paid staff and a base of probably over 100 volunteers on a regular basis who are doing work with our organization. So, uh, as Mary mentioned a couple years ago, her and I have remained close. She was the person who taught me how to fundraise. So when first got started, many of you guys are in this position right now where you're saying, I don't know where to start. I was there 10 years ago and I said, well, I don't know how to do any of this. but I should probably figure out how to get money coming into the door and then work on building everything else out. So Mary was one of the first people. Actually, she was the first person who I reached out to once we kind of got going, and had her coach me on how to fundraise. But as we've gone through the years, Mary and I realized that there is a really strong group of people out there who want to start nonprofits. They just don't know where to get going. So we built something that creates all the resources that you need to be able to successfully launch and grow your nonprofit. So
Yeah, so
that's a little
good.
bit about me.
Yeah, I love it. And we had to have this picture in here so that you guys knew how tall Tim actually is. This is a normal human standing next to him, Brandon, who actually was a guest on our podcast. Really, really great guy. Actually handing a check over to Tim and his nonprofit, which I always love. But you can see a few logos on this page. I worked for the Special Olympics, the ALS Association, the American Cancer Society over the years, helped raise millions of dollars for these organizations, started brand new events. While I was at the American Cancer Study, I started a $500,000 fundraiser, net a $500,000 fundraiser in that organization during the Great Recession. And that was during a season where a lot of nonprofits were starting to cut back and they're like, there's no money, nobody wants to give. And I'm like, hey, I'm brand new. All money is good money. And so I came out of the chute, raised a $500,000 in that event. The next year we net 600,000. Next year we net over 700,000. And then I started training people how to do this. So that's kind of where the trajectory came in all of this, was that I was like, I have done it myself. I continue to do it. I love raising funds. It's what I feel like I'm called to do. And I love teaching it to other people. So that's why we're here today. I'm going to
That's
teach you
right.
guys a little bit about how to raise some startup funds, because I have absolutely done it from zero. So I
Hmm.
know where you guys are at when you have like no volunteers, no staff,
Yeah,
it's like you're a one-man show. And some of you might have multiple people on your team, but it's nice like to know that, hey, Tim and I both had to navigate this on our own,
that's
and
right.
somehow we came out of this and are still doing okay. We're here. We're here for you.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Hey, would you
Do
guys
it.
take a minute in the chat and tell us just what your budget is for your organization? How much are you looking to raise for your startup funds? So, give us an idea of where you're at in your fundraising efforts,
Yeah. That'd be great.
and feel free to dream a little bit here. It's fine.
Yep.
How much are you looking to raise for your nonprofit? All
It's
right.
also okay too. Like there's a temptation to feel like, oh, I need to be $1 million nonprofit. Maybe you only need to be $100,000 nonprofit. Maybe 200,000. Our organization, my organization itself, is about a 250,000 dollar nonprofit. So
Yeah, really great. So 60,000, 160, 200, 250. Yeah, really great. 165,000,
yeah,
30,000. Hi, Ron.
great.
Good friend. Great. 30,000. Okay, perfect. That sounds great. All right. Well,
Yeah. Let's get
let's
started.
continue the conversation. So, first of all,
Yeah.
why do you need nonprofit startup? Why do nonprofits need startup funds?
Yeah.
Okay, whew. And we're gonna whiz through this pretty quickly, but there's four main reasons why nonprofits need money. I would assume that for these startup organizations, for those of you who are just raising some initial funds, you're probably looking at these things. So legal and admin costs, which is typically the filing of your 501(c)(3) status, some state fees, insurance, accounting, legal, very common kinds of things that people need to cover financially. Then you got your operational expenses.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tim, this is the very first thing that you were working on:
Yeah.
website, branding, marketing, software and technology, office supplies and space. Um,
Yeah.
and these are some of the things, Tim, feel free share with us here what you created here.
Yeah, so when we got started, we definitely realized we what we want to do is at a minimum create like something that was able to be transported to like events and like conferences and stuff. So our initial purchases were those banners, like a table with marketing, some brochures. And this photo, like if you like can see in here, we have the main banners in the background, but we also wanted to do something that was going to create like some conversation. So that's why we have things like on here, like that Barber Days, like logo on there, because what we'd have is people coming up to us and asking like, what is Barber Days? And allow us to explain, oh, well, this is like where youth can come in and they can literally get free haircuts from us. So it conveyed a message, but the minimum things that you're wanting to look at early on is some banners, some basic brochures of who the organization is, what you're doing, the website, and then just something that you can like take to conferences and conventions to help get the word out. And then something that is just catchy. What's something catchy that you do that's going to draw people in? So yeah.
Yeah, really good. And then there's the program development, piloting those new programs and services, the research and community assessments, materials, equipment, or staffing needs that come with that. Back to Tim's Barber Days, those
Yeah.
initial programs, and share this one here, Tim, as well.
Yeah, so I always tell people when you're first getting started with the programs, you want to do the thing that is the simplest and the easiest and the cheapest thing to do. So for us, that mean going out and doing outreach on Tuesday nights where we work with homeless people. So we're going to get out in the neighborhoods and we're just going to start loving on people and trying to meet some of those basic needs, like food, clothing, and we'd always get the majority of those things donated in. And that's kind of one of the things that we'll be talking about today too is how like there's an amazing amount of stuff that you can get that are in-kind donations to people. Maybe they are not financial contributors, but they're giving stuff or things that they have access to. So early on, you want to start out by doing the thing that is the simplest thing, the easiest thing to do, and the cheapest thing for you to do, just to get the word out.
Yeah, really good. And then, of course, my favorite, the fundraising costs that come with it, just donor list building, hosting those first fundraising events, and then, of course, hiring people to support you, the consultants and trainers, people that can help you in your nonprofit, like people like Tim and I.
Yeah. And then let me just add to that. People often overlook that part right there and take it from somebody who did this. I did this 10 years ago. I put our initial funding into coaching, and I would not be where I am today had I not done that.
Yeah, yeah, really good.
Critical
Well,
part of the
and we'll talk more about that a little bit later in our conversation. But Tim, this was your very first fundraising event that you put
yeah.
on. Do you remember how much it cost you to put this fundraiser on?
Oh, about like $400.
Okay. Okay. So we're not talking
Not,
about
not
huge money here.
not a lot, but let me stress it. It's not always that simple and that clear cut. Uh, this was the space itself was an in-kind donation to us, right? So we didn't have to pay for the space. That's not typical. A lot of times you're gonna have to pay for the space. The lady who was putting this on for us initially, she agreed to purchase a lot of the stuff for this. So there was a higher cost to this, but because we had partnerships and we made connections, we were able to get it at a very reduced amount. So $400 is not typical, not usual. But this is an event that we did. That was our very first fundraising event that we ever did, and we still do it to this day. And it's a ball. It's a hoot.
And it's called the quarters auction.
It's called the quarters auction. Yeah. So literally, we collect items and things from businesses all around town, and people can win that by dropping a quarter in the bucket, and they have a paddle. And if they drop the quarter in the bucket and they raise their paddle, if we call their paddle number, they won that item for a quarter. So not a big moneymaker in the quarters, but what we did do was we took that opportunity that night to find somebody who would gave a $10,000 grant. They were going to give a $10,000 matching grant, and so what we did was we wrote the grant to say, if on this night we raise $1,000 a month in monthly support, will you match that with $10,000? So we had an objective that night to raise at least $1,000 a month, and we hit that goal. I think we ended up raising like $1,200 a month that night. And in addition to that, we got the $10,000 grant plus about $3,000, $4,000 in quarters and some other random checks that came in. So our very first event, when you calculate everything in a year's worth of monthly support, ended up being about a $28,000 event for us.
Not a bad first fundraiser there.
And the nice thing was it continued to give year in year after year because we had those monthly supporters. So we've
Really
done
good.
it for 8 years now, and it just continues to stack.
Yeah, so good. Love it. So, okay, let's dive into more of the what's working and what's not. And then we're going to give you some actual tangible, like, here's how you execute this. Okay. So, when asking for startup funds, the question we often, find is just, what's working and what's not. So, I want to share with you what's not working. Tim and I want to share with you what's not working, so that you don't waste your time. Okay. Because I think that it's really easy to just feel like, especially in these early stages, that you need to do everything. And
Yeah,
you are a one-man show most of the time. So it's you're oftentimes having to juggle everything on your own.
yeah.
So here's just a list of things, okay? Um, Over reliance on traditional grants. This is one of those things that people think, oh, grants, let's write the grants and it's great. For an initial startup, it is harder to get grant funding because you don't have statistics, you don't have numbers,
Yeah.
you don't have all these stories built up. So it is a harder one for people, to fund. Not to say don't do it and that there isn't funding available, but just the over reliance, like relying too much on those traditional grants. Um,
There's really two things that when it comes to the traditional grant that they're looking for is they're looking for a track record in history and they're looking for collaboration. And it's very difficult early on when you're just getting started to be able to prove that you might actually have some history in the work that you've done in the past, but it has to be like recorded within the context of the organization itself. So the two big things they're looking for is collaborations and that history. And so it can prove to be a lot more difficult early on. It's not impossible, but it's more challenging.
Yeah. So, and then what else isn't working is just the generic fundraising appeals, ignoring digital platforms. We live in 2025, so like we can't ignore social media or ignore like the fact that your donors are actually on their phones. So, making sure that they can make donations digitally and those sorts of things. So, also what's not working is a failure to explain why your mission matters. Oh gosh, there are well over a million organizations that are in the same exact boat that you guys are all in. Half
Hmm.
a million, okay? 500 over 500,000 organizations that are sitting in the same space that you guys are in. So you have to explain why your mission matters. Otherwise, you're just another nonprofit that's out there raising funds.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good point.
The lack of the founder's story. It's easy just to get bogged down with wanting to tell the bigger story, but you forget about the founder's story. Fundraising without relationship building, that's an absolute no go. And then also just ignoring basic business fundamentals, like by not having a business plan. I
Yeah,
think sometimes people think that, oh, you're a nonprofit, so business plans are for businesses, not for
yeah.
nonprofits. And we're here to tell you today that business plans are for nonprofits because your nonprofit is technically a business that just doesn't
Yeah.
make any profit.
Let's just
Well,
get like
make profits.
let's get two main points established. You're running a business. This is a business. It's a nonprofit business, but you're running a business. And also what Mary and I talk about too, business people who start businesses, they get the luxury of being called an entrepreneur, you know. And what me and Mary and I love to communicate is you are an entrepreneur. You are starting a nonprofit business. So being that entrepreneur, you have to have a plan, a solid plan that's in place so that that can keep you on track.
Yeah, really good. Okay, so let's talk about what's working. Okay. So, what is working on the flip side of all this is founder-led fundraising, leading from the founder's story. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here today. Writing clear, compelling stories. That is, I mean, in all marketing, I've been to marketing conferences and trainings. They're all based on storytelling. If you watch any commercials, that's the stuff that they're sharing with you is compelling stories. Recurring giving programs, making sure what Tim just mentioned with his fundraiser, that you're seeing like, hey, it wasn't just a one-time event. where
Hmm.
he raised $1,200. It was a one-time event that is creating $1,200 of recurring revenue every single month for the organization.
Yeah. Super.
So,
Yeah. You gotta, that's the part where you have to come in. The idea for that event was originally just a quarters auction. And it was an event like this lady had done before. And when I sat down with her, I asked, so how much money did you raise in these quarters auction events that you did in the years past? And she said, oh, we raised a ton of money. It's like $5,000. And I was like, in that moment, I was like, I had to really tout a very thin line of balancing. Okay, yes, that's raising money, but I have to raise much more than that. So how do I build her up because of her idea and passion that she has, while also figuring out a way to magnify that? So we got creative in finding other lanes of like potential donors where we kind of packaged that together and made it what it is. But if we had not gotten creative about how to make this a recurring thing, like what Mary's talking about, it would have been a $5,000 event that we would have never been able to survive off of because we needed much, much more.
yeah, really good. And then the digital campaigns, personalized asks, obviously it's important that you make the ask, and that you invite people in, the strategic partnerships, and then the transparency and actually serving people is another one. So for today's conversation, I mean, I wish we could go through all of this. Okay. Like we need a whole weekend with you. Okay. But for today's conversation, we're going to dive really into this very first one, the founder-led fundraising. So, tell me, for those of you guys who are with us live, how many of you guys are the founders? So, just give me a yes if you are the founder, you, your spouse, if you guys are the founder of the organization. So, yep, Jennifer, Mark, yep,
While you guys are writing that too, I'm going to put a little plug in because Mary said we need a weekend with you. We're going to, at the end of the call today, we're going to be talking about, we have a workshop coming up in the fall that we would love for you guys to attend. So uh, be sure and listen to that because it's going to be a great tool where if you're interested, you can get a whole weekend with us
yeah.
where we're going to do a deep dive with you on everything your nonprofit is doing.
Yeah, so good. Okay, we got a lot of founders in the room. Okay, good. So this, as we talk about this founder-led fundraising, Tim, are you a founder?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you're in good company. I teach fundraising. I am a fundraiser, but I have never been a founder. So this is where I love being able to work alongside you guys as the founders to help you with your fundraising efforts. So the thing about the founder, and like Tim and I said, we like to call you the nonprofit entrepreneur, but you guys need to share your personal why.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, Tim, would you mind sharing just why do you help homeless youth in St. Louis?
Well, it was, as I mentioned before, my background is in youth ministry as a pastor, so I'm a believer. And also, my background is in social work. So I realized that there's a lot of great organizations out there that do things like help get people off the streets and help young people get access to housing and jobs and stuff, but that really isn't solving the solution. That's not solving the problem. And the problem is that these young people don't know who, excuse me, they don't know who they are.
Mhm.
They don't know where their identity rests. And so I had a passion to work with people who are homeless and on the streets, but also a passion to reach people for the gospel of Jesus. And so rather than wait for the next person to come along, I wanted to be that person that bridged that gap, that brought communities and collaborations together where social work organizations could help one another, but also lead people to Jesus. So that's
Yeah.
why why we do.
Well, and early on, Tim, as you were running your organization, those people, those early donors were investing in your vision and
Absolutely.
in your leadership.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for each and every person who's here with us, your donors are investing in you.
Yeah.
And people give to people. So as a fundraiser, when I was out, raising lots and lots of money, the 500,000, 600,000, 700,000, I was making sure that they could build a relationship with me, but I knew that I was only one person. So I was always bringing along other people that knew that they knew and they loved, so that it was like, oh, well, you like her, she's trustworthy, this organization is trustworthy, and it was a win-win across the board. But in the end, the leader of the organization is the one that people need to really lean into,
That's right.
especially during the early days. So
It's a hard thing to grasp sometimes. Sometimes we just want people to be most so excited about what we're doing and be as excited as we are. But the truth is, like, the reality is there's probably never going to be somebody who is as excited about the nonprofit that you want to run as you are, because it was put on your heart. And so because it was put on your heart, you need to be the one that is conveying the message, because you're the person that people are going to listen to. I could have like other my staff and my volunteers get out and try to get the word out, and try to raise money like I can, but it won't work because I'm the person who had the burden and the heart and the vision for it. God put on my heart, and that's who people want to hear from. The donors that are out there, the potential donors, the potential supporters, they want to hear that from you.
yeah. Well, and you're the one that's spending their money. So they want to know that you're trustworthy, that,
Yeah.
so, and then, a passionate, credible founder is the nonprofit's strongest asset. So if they feel like some sort of way around you, like they don't feel like, ooh, can I trust them? Or is
Yeah.
this person honest? Are they actually going to do what they say they're going to do? Because a lot of times, I mean, I'm sure many of you guys have met these people where they'll say, like, oh, we're going to change the world and we're going to do all these things. And you're like, I don't know if they're going to do it, like I'm not feeling it. And that's where the donations stop. They're not going to continue to come in if there is a roadblock in all that. So I was actually watching a YouTube or a TED Talk video, and I this was one of the screens that stood out to me. It was actually a training where they were talking about how do you actually go get a job? Like if you were unemployed and you needed to go find an actual job, where are your connections? Where are you going to go to actually get them? And this
Yeah.
is where I want you guys to see when you are starting from zero, when you're starting at the very beginning, and some of you have been established for a little while, so I don't want to say like you're at zero, but like when you're first getting started and you're like, I don't even know where to go. You tend to do this in the center. You tend to go to this inner circle, your parents, your close friends, your church, a significant other, and your siblings. These are
Yeah.
the people that are in your inner circle that know you, that like you, that trust you. And so a lot of times people will say, hey, do you know someone? Are you, do you know somebody? But the goal here is that you actually don't necessarily want the donations to your organization. You don't want the connection. Some of you may want to go work for your parents or may want to go work for your siblings or your church. And sometimes that works out great. But most times you are looking for that blue dot.
Yeah.
Where are the connections outside of these five that are going to be the diehard fan of your organization that's not going to be sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner with you, um, saying, hey, how's that money? How are we implementing those ideas? And how's that program going? And you just can't enjoy the company of the people in your inner circle because they're always talking about your cause and the
Yeah.
things that are going on there.
And you really don't want to like be in that room when you've sent a message to your uncle and asked them to become the donor and they never responded to you. And so you're sitting at Thanksgiving dinner and it's awkward that like, oh, they never responded to me asking about whether they would support me. I don't know. I can't tell you how many times early on, Mary, I made this mistake of just trying asking anybody and everybody if they would be a donor rather than like just trying to find like natural connection points. I have so many Facebook Messenger messages that went unanswered early on because people were so turned off by me just, asking them to become a donor for $5 or $10 or whatever.
Yep. And that's what we're here to help you avoid. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you only have, I would assume, one set of parents. You only have so many close friends. You only go to one church. You only got one significant other and only a few siblings. Some of you may have a lot. I have six.
Yeah,
You
so
guys I have
we
quite a
want you to
few.
keep that family. We want you to
Yes.
keep that church and all that. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, okay, so we're going to go through just a handful of places to get started because I think that that's, I mean, ultimately why we're here. We're like, okay, where do I go? Who do I talk to? How do I actually get these startup funds? Okay, the first donor to your nonprofit is most likely you.
Yeah.
Okay, I asked him before we started today. I was like, Tim, were you the first person who donated to your organization? And Tim said,
No. No,
he said no.
no, I was not. No, my good friend Jean Market was my first donor, and she's still a donor today. But yeah, what I lacked in the financial resources because I was so dirt poor back then, I gave in my time. So my money was my time. That's how I gave. Yeah.
Absolutely. And each and every one of you guys, I would say, have given way more than anyone else has. I'm sure I could get a few amens in here that it's like you have invested a lot. You know, you put the gas in the car. You were the one that you're volunteering your time. You're not getting compensated for every hour that you're working in your position. So the first person that tends to be a donor to the organization is going to be you. Yeah, Mark. Yes, a lot. Exactly. More than you could probably count, and you don't do the math on it on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, it's a scary number. Yeah.
It's the hobby that, hey, it's good. It's all good. So this is something that I think is really great is just giving others the gift of going second. And a lot of times people don't want to be the first donor. Uh, Tim, amazing that you had that relationship with Jean and she was willing to make that donation. And it's always great. But what you guys will notice that a lot of times people want to hear who else is giving to this organization so that I know, hey, I'm a part of something bigger. So if you are the only donor to your organization at this point, there's nothing wrong with that. Be confident in the fact that you say, like, hey, we make a donation specifically to this organization. I work another job. We donate to this ministry. And that's how this is getting, or this organization, that's how this is getting off the ground.
Absolutely.
That is totally okay. All right. Just give others the gift of going second. I think that that's really important as you move through this.
And let's just address this from a like a legal standpoint too, because I have had actually people say like, can I be that? Some people wonder whether they can are allowed to do that, and you are. So if there's any ambiguity about that, you can be like that first and that sole giver. And you don't have to feel like any kind of way about it. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Now, you do want a responsible, like, uh, group of people that you onboard to be like your board of directors and stuff who can help you, navigate through that. But absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's a great point, Mary.
Yeah, well, and yeah, the goal here is that you don't remain the only donor to your organization.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's when people reach out to me or Tim and I working together is that they're like, I'm the only donor to my organization. This has to change. It's great that you're giving. Sometimes people start their organization like, Ryan, who's on the call here, I mean, has this very successful business. And then he, as a tithe, a gift, he
Hmm.
contributes to his nonprofit and that
Hmm.
side, which is fantastic. But at some point, a lot of organizations are like, we want to grow. I don't want to be the sole donor to this ministry, to this organization forever. So
Yeah,
how do we expand that and how do we invite other people in?
that's right.
So number two here, when we talk about that inner circle, we really do have to start in the inner circle because it's
Yeah.
what you got.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do need to utilize the connections of our friends and family. But one thing that I want to caution each of you on is that do not catch me here. Okay, do not use them as your donor base. Okay,
Yeah.
we are not name dumping our friends and our family. There are friends in our family. Okay, so first and foremost, there are friends in our family. As you're sharing the story of your organization, you're going to naturally have some people in your inner circle who are going to bubble to the surface and they're going to lean in and say, what are you doing? How can I help you?
Yeah.
That is beautiful. They self-select. You
Hmm.
don't, from, Thanksgiving table, stand up and say, hey, everyone, I started a nonprofit and you all are my board of directors. You all are my first donors. I will pass around the bucket around this table. Like that's a great way for your family and friends to avoid you. I don't know how many of you, I really should watch myself, but I'm I really don't like telemarketing and and some of the businesses that are out there like Tupperware sales, stuff like that, where
Yeah.
I'm just like, and I have had family members who've sold some of that stuff in the past, and I'm just like, oh gosh, they're going to ask me to buy something, and like you immediately start getting kind of weird around like, are they going to ask? Are they going to, and
Yeah.
so we do not want that to happen, especially in our inner circle.
Well, let me just tell you as an example. So, I mentioned to you early on, I did make a lot of mistakes about asking people for money when I shouldn't have because I had not built the foundation and the relationship the way that it needed to. But my sister is a prime example. She's a very successful business person. She is literally the chief legal counsel for General Motors. I know she's making millions of dollars every year. I know it. And I will never and have never asked her to be a donor of Restoration House because I want to be around my family and just be able to love my family and be family with them. That's what I want to keep it. So there are definitely, I mean, you definitely want to, as best as you can, protect your core, so that you can keep your sanity. But that doesn't mean that you cannot use them if they offer it up as ways to make connections and to resources. It doesn't have to be like a financial thing. You can use them naturally to say, hey, you know, here's what we're looking to do, and they say, you know what, I may know a guy who can help you over here. Perfect. Leave it right there and pursue that thing.
Yep. And that's where using your sister as an example, if I mean, General Motors may be a company that you'd want to do, that aligns with what you're doing. And an easy ask would just be like, hey, do you know who the person is in the St. Louis market who oversees the charitable giving in that area?
Yeah.
Great. Ask your sister. Like, you've got these connections, go to those resources. We're not saying not, but the thing is that we're not saying, hey, sister, can you write me $1 million check today? Because we need that for our organization. It's a good way for her to be like, are you stinking kidding me, little brother?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so. I don't even know if she older or younger than you do.
He's older than me, but by
Okay,
the
good.
way, that's a really good idea, and I'm writing that down on my phone right now.
See, there's where Tim missed out on an opportunity. Okay, but it is back to the blue dot description that I was showing to you guys, is that you want the connection beyond the connection. So
Yeah.
the friend that can make the connection outside of it. So we're not necessarily like trying to target our friends and our family. We're saying, who do our friends and family have connections to? Ask them if they could open up a door, ask them for their advice, and then that's where we expand from there.
Oh, there you going with that. Ask
I
for
know.
advice and get money.
I know I had the slide in here and I did pull it out, but just because I say it so often. But yeah, my statement is if you ask for advice, it's amazing when you ask somebody, "Hey Tim, do you know somebody who could help me with like, hey, my car is broken. Do you know who I could talk to get that fixed?" Tim's like, "Yeah, I got a buddy who does that. I take my car here. Da da da. No big deal." Tim's
Yeah.
great. Yay, thank you so much. If I said, Tim, my car's broken down. Can you give me $50 to take care of that, or $100 or whatever it costs to fix a car or whatever? And Tim's like, what? Like immediately the response is like, are you kidding me?
Well,
And it's just a strategy that I want to instill in each and every one of you is that, ask for advice and you'll get money, ask for money and they'll turn around and give you advice. Hey,
let me give you
have you ever thought about this? Have you ever called on so and so?
I'll
That's
give
the
you I'll
response.
give you another example. About an hour ago, I was talking to some church pastors in the area because in our facility, the washer that we use for our young people, the washer broke down. So I told him, I said, hey, if you know anybody who has a washer that is being unused, could you check? And he said, yeah, I'll reach out with my network to see if anybody has a washer. And he said, but if I don't find one, if you don't find one in the next couple of days, just let me know. I'll buy you one. And I was like, really? Doggone it.
So good. So good. Okay. Number three is the individuals, churches, organizations, and businesses, right? So depending on whether your organization, like some of you probably don't even have your 501c3 status yet from the IRS, but if you do, depending on if you're a religious or a non-religious organization, religious organizations tends to lean towards the individuals and churches. Those that are non-religious organizations, individuals, you can still get funding from all these sources, but the one key is that the businesses tend to give more readily to the non-religious organizations. Not saying that you cannot get funding from businesses, it's just that there's different opportunities through those businesses.
Well,
So
and
it's
with those businesses, like the ones who are going to be giving to you are going to be the ones that you've built like solid relationships with. So if you're looking for a cold call, financial donation where you don't haven't really built a lot of the relationship up with, that's where you're going to encounter like, all right, we don't tend to work with a lot of faith-based or religious nonprofits. They want to work with the non-faith-based ones, but you will find more success in the businesses who are open to working with faith-based organizations because you've built the relationships with them.
Yeah. So, but the individuals, the churches, the organizations, and businesses, these are what turn into the blue dots.
Yeah.
So it's like continuing to look at, okay, where's the extension from
Yeah.
my inner circle? And maybe that one church is sitting in your inner circle because that's the one that you're connected to. But Tim, how many churches support and PS, Tim's nonprofit is not a religious organization, even though you heard him talk about it earlier, that, his background is in, being a youth pastor and extending into that. But you guys chose to be a non-religious 501c3, but yet
Yep.
you have a lot of churches that support your organization.
Yeah, we were able to tout the line to where we can be a non legally as a 501c3 structure as a non-religious organization, but anybody who walks into our facility knows that like we're all people of faith because that we engage the church by letting the church coming in and do their thing while we can maintain that autonomy. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's so good. And what I love about what Tim has done is that he has such a wide variety of denominations that are involved.
yeah,
So it's not like one denomination owns his nonprofit. It's like just this extension. So he was able to start with his inner circle church, which was I mean, they were ultimately your fiscal sponsor. That
yeah,
term is used oftentimes where, hey, he used the 501c3 status of the church before becoming an official nonprofit. So
right.
the church allowed for that. And then once he got his 501c3 status, then it expanded out and he's able to add all these additional churches onto the mix.
Yeah, if you saw like on that slide where Mary showed earlier with me and Brandon Bowes, he was handing me a check, and I think in the preceding slides that we have coming
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's me and a pastor in an area I've known him for 20 years. His name is Pastor John of Faith Lutheran here in St. Louis. They're pretty successful and thriving church. But he is an example of how, like, when I got started, I took the network that I had and the people that I know, and I connected with guys like Pastor John, who is very influential in the Lutheran church here in St. Louis, and I built relationship with him. So it was like when they had a need, I wanted to be there to fill it. Uh, and I did it unconditionally. I just wanted to like support them, but I also knew and understand the law of reciprocity that when you do things for other people, especially when you do it out of a pure heart, like it'll come back to you. And so there is like oodles of examples now over the last 10 years with our organization being in existence where I've been able to do things that are completely independent of Restoration House just to support the work that they're doing and vice versa. And so in that picture, you see like we were doing a dedication that day because they gave us like, I think uh, by that point, they'd given us a total of well over $200,000 like historically up until this point. And so we chose to name our computer lab in our facility the Faith Computer Lab. But all of that started because I made a simple connection and a simple relationship and really poured into that. And beyond just John now, like he has opened the doors to every Lutheran church in the city of St. Louis now that we're connected to, all because of that one connection.
Yeah. And just on a denominational background, Tim's sending church was an Assemblies of God church. So that just gives you a gauge on like how very uniquely
Very
different.
broad. Yes. We've got the
Exactly.
people swinging from the chandeliers and the people, sitting in the pews that are working with our organization. So,
Yeah. But also, I mean, I lived in St. Louis prior to our move to Mexico, but I'd be on Facebook and people would be like the general population in the community. They'd see somebody who was homeless on the streets and they would reach out and say, "Hey, you should know Restoration House. They're the ones that are taking care of homeless youth," So the message of just continuing to get your story out there over and over again. I messaged him. I was like, this Facebook group is talking about you. Like, it was just amazing what happens over just a short period of time, how your message can carry by just starting with the founder and then going out to building these strong relationships across the circle that you have connection to.
Yeah. One last point I'll say about that is like, how do you do this? Like, you have to be, oftentimes we think that we don't know that many people, but I'd be willing to bet each one of us knows a lot more people than what we think. And so, what you need to do is, Mary, I know you love this. You need to sit down with a notebook and a pen, and you just need to start writing down names. And you need to be intentional about like following up with those people and connecting them. Again, not even necessarily it doesn't always necessarily have to be about the nonprofit that you're working with. Just be in regular community with people, regularly connecting, and then seeing where those things go. Sometimes they can be organic. Sometimes you go into it, you can be very intentional and say, like, here's what we're doing. Do you have a connection that, would fall in line with what we have like going on? But be intentional and just start writing down names on a list. And I promise you that list will be a lot longer than what you think.
Yeah. And for clarification on the list, because in the fundraising space, sometimes that list is like, oh, then I'm going to go ask all these people that are on this list for money. And that's not what we're saying here. So back to ask for advice, like what you were saying, like you reached out to these guys with genuine interest in their opinion, their thoughts, their leadership. They had
Hmm.
started something before. Obviously, this church started from nothing at some point, and it's
Hmm.
grown into a very successful ministry. And so you were looking at, okay, who are the leaders running these organizations? What can I learn from them? And that's what we're saying here is that as you start to pull this list together, you're starting to look at who can I start to surround myself with that are going to elevate my awareness of like what opportunities are available in our community, where can I make sure that we have a booth at that event or we have our
Absolutely.
faces being seen in those places. So just start thinking about those inner circle. And absolutely, I would highly encourage just kind of, and for those of you who are people of faith, just, praying about, hey, God, who's in my circle? Who do I know? Who can I just go have coffee with that I can connect with that might open up a door to the next connection? And that's how this all begins. When I started my $500,000 fundraiser, one of the biggest things that I did was I started spending time talking to people about who are the most influential people. Like I was talking to people to find out who are the people. So like especially in your circle, if you're trying to find out, like for Tim, who cares about homeless youth in this community? And you're literally just on the hunt to find out who are the most outspoken, who are the people that are the most passionate about what I'm passionate about. Do you know somebody who cares about this? What doors? So, like, these are the churches. Clearly, when I think about the Lutherans, I was like, this group of people have been watching for however long
Yeah.
this epidemic in their community, and they have this massive amount of people that can make a difference. And so it's not by chance that you landed there. That's where all the doors kept on opening up to lead you that direction,
Yeah.
which I think is really, really beautiful.
And sometimes you're gonna go open those doors to see where they go, and then they take you a lot of different places. Other times you're gonna open those doors and it's gonna take you nowhere. That's okay.
Yeah. Then
Focus
you
on the
know.
door that was open and it led to other connections. Go that route.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. And then number four on our list is events. The thing is that a lot of people feel like events is like, hey, this is a great way I can raise awareness. We can get people together. And it is a great initial way for those startup funds because you're just trying to we're trying to figure out who cares about us, who wants to give to this. So we've got to have some place where we can get them to gather, and then that way they can start to self-select whether they want to be more involved. But I'm going to highlight the fact that I was like, please, 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 do not do an event every single weekend. You will burn out, and the doors of your 501(c)(3) of your nonprofit will close. I did so many
Right.
fundraisers when I worked for Special Olympics. I felt like I was doing a fundraiser every single weekend. And that is an organization that is like 90 some percent name recognition. They were too big to be doing stuff like that. And I just saw that in some kind of mom and pop organizations, it's easy just to get so locked into events. And if all of you were around in 2020, when Tim turned 40, so what was it, like the day before your birthday?
It was. Yeah.
It's like, then the whole world shut down, right? Every nonprofit that was running an event started to flip out.
Yeah.
All of their money was like in the hands of these events that were no longer happening. And now all of a sudden, all your
Yeah.
eggs are in that basket and you are in trouble. Okay. So,
Yeah.
once again, events are great for startup funds. And then just continue to move on from there. We had a student on one of our coaching call yesterday, and she said, we did so many events when we got started, but some of them opened, we did them for a little while, and then then we shut them down. And she's like, now after running her organization for, it was 7 years for the most recent organization, she's like, we
Yeah.
do one event a year, and that's what I recommend, is one signature event a year where you can rally everybody together. This is where you thank your monthly donors. This is where you thank your annual donors. This is where we recognize people. We talk about the new things that are happening in our organization. So events are very, very effective for community building.
Yeah.
But this is one that actually one of our students
Yeah.
just did. What is today, the 8th? So 5 days ago, our sweet student Mary Stowinski and her husband Tim did a line dancing event.
Yes.
And it literally came together in no time. She said the teacher of their line dancing class couldn't show up. And then the next thing you know, they were pulling this thing together. They had 40 people who came out to this line dancing event, and they raised $1,300 that night with very little preparation. It didn't cost them anything. And they literally were like selling, like where you could, request a song, and then you could
Yeah.
pay to bump the song out. So people were paying like hundreds of dollars to get songs kicked out, from the playlist. But I just want you to see what she wrote here. She just wrote, we're so incredibly grateful to everyone who came out to our line dance fundraiser last night in support of Dementia Life. Because of you, your energy on the dance floor, your generous donations, and your big-hearted spirit, we were able to raise crucial funds to support individuals living with dementia, as well as their families and caregivers and care communities. And she went on there. But one thing I want you to see is Mary is the founder,
Yeah.
and the relationships that she is building. You can see she's down here in this lower picture with this woman here. She's building relationships,
Yeah.
showing all these people that she's so passionate about the work that's being done, and she's inviting people in. Now, these are friends. These are
Yeah.
people in their inner circle, and some people just came because they love line dancing, and they may never come to another fundraiser again. But that night, someone reached out to her, like said, Mary, we need to do more. And so that one fundraiser opened up the door to the next thing. And so
Right.
the story is being told as we speak. So that's what's beautiful. Mary came to our workshop last September that we did. Her organization is a baby. Like, it
Yeah.
just
Maybe
got
like
its
3 months
501(c)(3).
old, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and she just got her website up. She had a 15-year-old design a beautiful website. It's here,
Yeah.
dementialife.care. You can go to it. But I mean, like, just really great to just start taking action, getting that momentum, and allowing people to step up and help the work that's being done.
Here's what I would like to emphasize about what she did, because I know Mary Stowinski very well. She loves line dancing. She loves country line dancing. That's something that brings her joy. So when I going back to what I said earlier about when you're first getting started, you want to do the simplest and the easiest things that you can do to get going. This was very simple and very easy for her to do. And so because it was simple and easy, it didn't require a whole lot of like exasperating like effort. She was able to put this on very quickly because it was simple and easy for her to do. And the byproduct of it is that she has all these connections. I mean, ultimately, is she going to be able to make uh, an organization survive off of $1,300? No. But what she's going to do is she's going to use that as a platform to launch into other areas of connections. And that's where the real value. The value is not in the $1,300 of the race. It's the connections that she made that night.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are the key areas that we were talking about for those startup funds. We have to start as the founder to work in that inner circle that you guys have. Do not burn relationships, okay? Like this is from, us to you is that these are precious friends. Like these are your people. These are the people that you love the most. So protect these
You
relationships at
put,
all costs. Your spouse, I mean, Tim, we just did a podcast episode with your wife, and it was
yeah,
like, those are the things that it's like not everybody is going to love being a part of your organization. And I highly recommend that episode if your spouse is not involved on staffing or isn't, helping to lead the charge, because there's different ways that your spouse can be engaged in the work that's being done, and it doesn't have to be on the staff team.
yeah,
So all that. Okay, so you guys know these are the things that are working. This is what we shared here today. We didn't have enough time, obviously, to go through every single detail of the rest of this, the storytelling, the recurring gifts, digital campaigns, personalized
hmm
ads, all these things. But we wanted to share with you guys ways that we can partner with you and how we can come alongside you. First of all, Tim and I, we try our best to give as many free resources as possible.
absolutely.
So, making sure that you guys have access to webinars like this. We have a free podcast. We have free resources on startandgrowyournonprofit.com. So, you can get
hmm
access to our previous trainings. You can get access to the top 10 things that every nonprofit should never do. Okay. There's a resource on there for you. But anytime that we can give you those resources, we're here to do that. But we
Absolutely.
do want to talk to the person right now who's like, I've been trying to run my nonprofit for, whether it's been just the idea has popped into your head fairly recently, or whether it's been a dream in your heart for years. We want to
Yeah.
talk to that person and tell you a little bit about our academy. So if it's okay with you guys, we'd love to share those resources with you guys. And if this is a resource that can help you along the way, we want to do that. So I hope we're okay to continue on. If you give me a yes, I'd love to continue this process with you guys. Um,
Yeah.
the academy here, it's basically just an online coaching program. Tim and I, we work with people all over the country. So it doesn't matter where you live. We have people who work internationally. Part of their organization is working in like Africa, or we've got a student who works in Israel that works in the US, vice versa. So there's lots of ways that you can still build your organization in community with others. Thank you. Thanks for the yeses, guys. Great. Okay, very cool. All right. So we have 5 core modules that sit inside of the program that we teach.
Yeah.
It spells out the word START. If you know anything about Mary Valloni, you know I love a good acronym. So, so we have our START modules. We have our grow process that we teach in our workshop. And these 5 START modules are basically what I told you that's working: the storytelling, the team building, having an action plan, which is your business plan, raising funds. I'm a huge, like just proponent of making sure that you have a really solid case document for
Yeah.
support,
Yeah.
and being able to tell the world. How do we actually get our message out to the world? So this is our core curriculum that sits inside of our program, Start and Grow Your Nonprofit Academy. And then here's my 7 steps that I teach, this freedom framework. I've written a couple books on this topic, but we have an actual program. It's like a bonus training program that all of our students get access to. But this is what we teach inside of the program, the freedom steps. And it gives you from the beginning, where it's vision, all the way towards making a difference. And I
Yeah.
want to highlight for those of you who maybe this is the first time meeting us, many times people think that they should go ask for money, and that should just be the first thing. And I want you to see on these 7 steps, organize your ask, like actually asking for money is step number 6. So all the preparation that we do so that by the time you're actually sitting down and talking to somebody about giving, they're already vetted, they've already leaned in, and you are not like there's just no reason to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be rejected or they're not going to be my friend or whatever else. I wouldn't even be sitting in the room with a potential donor if they hadn't already been vetted through all the other processes that we had in advance. So I just want you to see that there's a real system to raising money, and these 7 steps came from my $3.2 million that I raised in the first, 5 years of my time at the American Cancer Society. This was working for a $1 billion nonprofit. So
Yeah.
these 7 steps work if you're raising $10,000 or if you're raising millions and billions. It's the same process that we teach our students through that. So, and then this is just who the Nonprofit Academy is for. It's for nonprofit entrepreneurs like you guys who want to start and grow your nonprofit and actually get paid. We believe, that let's see if my next one will go here. Uh, there we go. Anyways, and then you want to be fully resourced for the work you have been called to
Yeah.
do. Like I apologize. I should have fixed this one. You're willing to develop your skills as a communicator, fundraiser, and leader. And you recognize times are changing and you want to experience coaches, like you want the experienced coaches to help you through the process.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's time to grow and you're willing to invest in yourself. Okay. So that's what's so important is that you actually take care of you because you're the one that's leading this organization. And if you get burnt out, there is no organization.
That's right.
Yeah. So what's included in the academy is the 5-star modules that we talked about. You're going to have access to the templates that we have for our staff, like making sure that your staff, your volunteers have job descriptions, that their support letters and your budget spreadsheets are there. You've got sample case documents, sample business plan, more. And then you're also going to have access to Tim and I through the process
Right.
for those 6 and 7 figure nonprofit organizations. We do coaching calls twice. Actually, we do it every 2 weeks now. We actually moved it from
Mhm.
twice a month to every 2 weeks so that there's real consistency in your organization as you build this out.
That's right.
Um, and then you get access to our private nonprofit academy online community. We do that on Slack so that you have access to each other.
Yeah.
Tim, tell me about, he's always like, I love you, Mary, but I actually love the community so much more. So,
Yeah, it's kind of like when you go to church every week and you listen to a sermon, like, if you look back and somebody asks you what the pastor like preached on like a month ago, are you going to remember what they were preaching on? Probably not. No, I won't. Like I can barely remember like what's talked about like the same day. But what you do get is you get community in the church, and so it's the same principle. So we teach a lot of great points, but the thing that really got me through early on was I had a really good group of people who were going through this alongside me. They're running different nonprofits, but they understood my pain points and they understood like the victories that I would experience and the good days and the bad days. And some of them were a little bit farther along than me, and some of them weren't quite as far along, and some people are at the same level. And when you have that community together, it can help, ride you through the tough times. You get to be with each other and hug each other and celebrate each other through the good times, and ultimately you get to stand alongside them. It's just like what Scripture says that as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Very much believe in that principle.
yeah, so good. Well, hey, we also do a live workshop on top of all that. Is that we, like Tim said, hugging each other. Like in the world we live in today, we don't always get to actually physically be in the same space together. So we want to make sure that our students get to be together. So just like we mentioned, Mary Swinski, where we met her last year. I mean, Tim knows Mary from their background together, but it was so great because I got to actually physically meet Mary and have a conversation with her and her husband and talk about their organization. And so we do a live workshop, and that date is August 1st through the 3rd. So for those of you guys who live close to the area, are in the area, this is a really great opportunity to come join us. Our workshop registration is open right now. So, any of you guys who are current students, you get access to the workshop free for two people on your team. So, this is
Yeah.
a perk, a benefit to our students who are inside of Nonprofit Academy. But those dates are set, and we're going to be in St. Louis for those days.
And
And
it's
then
absolute dynamite.
yeah,
Sorry,
this,
George.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, this is a picture from our training together. And we actually brought guests from our podcast together. Ryan, who's on the call, he was one of our speakers, also a guest on our podcast. The three that are sitting in this picture, all three of them are executive directors of very successful nonprofits in the
Mhm.
area. And they all came in and just gave the like, yep. It's all
Gold.
like just it was beautiful, and it was just everybody got a chance to ask questions and like hear their heart and how have they overcome some of the challenges. We were talking about board, development and just working with tough volunteers and just all the things. So
Yep.
you just know you're in good community together. It was, yeah, really
It was so
beautiful.
good.
Yeah. And
So
so
good.
we're doing it again. We're coming back. So inside a Nonprofit Academy, we basically have three options that we invite people to be a part of. So there's the one-on-one private coaching. This is for somebody who's like, just tell me what to do. I just need to go raise my money, or I need to go build out my nonprofit. Tim, Mary, can you come alongside us? Great.
Yeah.
Happy to do that. But we do it in a one-on-one private setting, coaching calls like how you joined on today. They're recorded, all the details there. But then you've got a combination of the second option is a combination of both, where you have the one-on-one and you have the group coaching, so that you have that community. This is probably our most popular option, is where people get the one-on-ones with Tim, and then they also get connections with us. Yeah, any dates from Mexico? Come on, Shauna. By the way, Shauna, you were on my mind this morning, girl. The other option here is just group coaching alone, where it's like I just need to be around other leaders who are doing this. I don't know anyone. I don't know what I don't know. And so just by listening to the things that they're doing, like, oh, they're getting insurance for that. Maybe I should get insurance. Oh, they're doing this. Maybe I should think about that. So it allows you to like, you just don't even know what you don't know. So being in community with other people is just super, super valuable. And then here's just a couple of testimonials, and then we'll take some questions if you guys have any specific questions around what we talked about today, or if you have any questions about the academy. But a couple of our students who just joined had shared with us, Tim and Mary, you're doing such a great job with this group. The visuals are so helpful. I can't wait to get off this call to go to work on what you're teaching us. This is one of our students, Nikki, who shared this. She has since gotten her case document together, her business
Love it.
plan. Didn't know if she was a business, didn't know if she was a nonprofit. She knows she's a nonprofit now. It's like just the clarity and the confirmation from the calls is super, super powerful. Another person said, I've learned so much inside the Nonprofit Academy. I was having anxiety around how to present my new organization, and I feel so much more confident now. This is a husband and wife who were transitioning out of being missionaries and then moving into becoming executive directors and founders of their nonprofit. I mean, that there's just like there's so much emotion tied to it. And we're just like, you got this. We gave them the tools, and they're absolutely running with their organization now. So we had Dira on our podcast, so you can listen to her story on the podcast. Beautiful. I adore Dira. Dira, wherever you are, I adore you. So she started Hope House for our families. And she just, here in her testimony, just said, it's been really cool to know that I'm not the only one who's trying to figure this out. How many of you guys know, like, have friends who are starting up a nonprofit because that's what God told them to do? It's been so great to listen to their stories and have Mary and Tim's templates to go off of. It's huge for me. I don't have time to start from scratch. So to be able to copy and repurpose the resources and make them my own has been invaluable.
Yeah.
And then one other story here. This was Mark and Adina. They were in the picture at our workshop.
Hmm.
And they just, talked about, it's overwhelming sometimes the goals and dreams we have. When I see the Nonprofit Academy call on the calendar, I know there's this little army of people that are fighting and working to make this thing be better and to help us. There are things happening, iron sharpening iron. There's a plan, a strategy, there's support. So
Yes. Love it.
that's what we're here for. And this was one of our one-on-one students who had been trying to, work bivocationally, like working a day job and trying to run their nonprofit. And I just love when a story like this comes out of our coaching calls, that thank you so much for all you're doing to help my wife and I move forward. I officially resigned and only have 9 days left as an employee. After 13 years, I finally get to run my nonprofit full time. and really great couple. I mean, they're doing incredible work, and it's just, yeah, it was 3 months. We did one-on-one coaching for 3 months, and he resigned from his full-time teaching job, like professor, like very, very sharp intellectual person. And it was just like they needed that hand holding for just that season to say, how can we do this so that we can, with confidence, go run our nonprofit full time? So, anyway,
Yeah.
so that's what we have for you guys here today. Our hope is really that we can give you tools, resources, the support that you guys need wherever you're at in your journey. And so
Yeah.
you guys, we don't, there's no price, there's no, there's none of that. Our goal here is just to have another conversation. So if this sounds exciting to you and it's something that you're like, I need support, I need somebody to help me, there's a short 10-question application on our website, startandgrowyournonprofit.com. And you just click on the apply now. And Erin has the link there in the chat for you guys. But we want to have a conversation with you. We don't let everybody into Nonprofit Academy. This is not a come one, come all, click the link and you're in. It really is we want to make sure that you're going to support the community. You're going to be a support system to them. They're going to be a support system to you. No sense in spending money on something that is not going to be what you need during this season.
That's right.
So that conversation, it's 20 minutes, and Tim and I are going to give you the best advice we can. So at a minimum, you're going to get a great conversation, hang out with some fun people, and figure out if this is something for you. If you have applied in the past, because we have done these webinars and people have applied in the past, if you've applied in the past and Tim and I have said, the invitation is there for you, you're welcome. If you are in that season where you're like, we're ready, I just need to do it, we just need to go, send Erin an email. Erin, will you drop your email in the chat and just send Erin an email and just say, I'm ready. This literally happened 2 days ago. Like,
Yep.
and I had somebody who was like, okay, Mary, I'm done. I'm done making excuses. Like, I'm ready. What do I need to do? Send me the links. Let's go. And the next day they were on the call. Okay. So, Tim and I, our next Start and Grow, like our next Nonprofit Academy call is not this coming Tuesday and Wednesday, but the following Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're going to give you 2 weeks. Okay. And that's the thing. Like, we want you to take some time, talk to your team members. Let's have that interview, that conversation together. And as soon as you're ready, we can have you start joining in on those calls as soon as 2 weeks from now.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So really, really simple. Love it. Yes, Quentin, come on. No, I thought Quentin was going to say, all right, Erin, send me the link. No. Anyway, love it. Do you guys have any questions for us today based on today's conversation about the Academy or about, yeah, Quentin, he knows. Anyway, but anything about what we shared here today, Tim and I are an open book. We're happy to be a resource to you guys. So
Yeah.
feel free to drop that. And while they're doing that, Tim, any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, no, I just want to emphasize to you guys that community is often like the biggest thing to getting this off the ground. Most of you guys I know are like people of faith and running faith-based nonprofits, and we love that. Um, just as the church, the global church emphasizes that community is the key, that you need to be involved in a local church. There's so much value to being connected into a local community where people are doing the same thing that you are doing, and to see. I mean, side note, like to see like how God, when you're a part of these groups and you get to see how God is moving not just in your community, but all around the world. I mean, we have students who are literally doing work all around the world now. And so you may feel like you're running I'm running a nonprofit, but it's out of like, Kenya or South America or Northern Europe. What you're going to find is there's community of people like all around the world. And that is truly like what is going to get you through some of the hard times is just the connections and doing like what Mary said, like just being able to meet somebody in person and connect and hug. Our students are literally in our nonprofit academy now. And even when we're not doing the workshops and we're not doing the coaching calls, they're flying into each other's cities to support one another and connect with one another. And it's super awesome to see. We would love to have a chat or a discovery call with you guys to see if you would be a good fit.
Yeah, so good. All right. If you guys don't have any questions for today, my just advice for you guys, take it or leave it, is is do something.
Yeah.
Okay? Like do something. This is what I tell every single person who I meet, like when I'm talking about raising funds, too, is that I'm like, when you're sitting down meeting with somebody, the goal here is like that they would do something.
Mhm.
And so our ask here today is just do something, go
Yep.
move the needle forward. Do you need a community? Do you need to have some conversations with your inner circle about just, hey, what doors am I missing? What conversations could I be having based on the connections that are in my inner circle? And just
Hmm.
start moving things forward. If you're not listening to our podcast, maybe that's a good first step is to just go get some encouragement off of some of the conversations that we've had with our past, guests on the show. We've
And
got,
we've got some
yeah.
dynamite podcast interviews coming up. I mean, some just game changer dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them that we have coming up is a couple, Katie and Rudy Gleason, and they do their nonprofit in the U.S. and in
Hmm.
Ethiopia.
Hmm.
And so, really great conversation about them, working internationally. They have staff in both locations and
Yep.
just navigating, running an organization as a couple as well. And so, we love talking to these leaders that are like, hey, it's one person who's running the whole thing. Sometimes it's a couple,
Yep.
sometimes not. But love being able to share those stories, and hopefully some of those will resonate with you guys. So,
Yeah, we have another one that's coming up where it should be. I think it's the next. Is it the next episode with Matt Peoples,
yeah.
Mary?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's running a nonprofit right now. These launched 6 years ago, and they're a $250,000 nonprofit now. And so they're all about equipping people to become disciples in their local communities and engaging church planting pastors. They're killing it. We have Greg Steer of Dare to Share Ministries coming up in June that we're going to be interviewing. He's running a what is it, a $2.5 million nonprofit that he started 30 plus years ago. That's all about engaging teenagers to become the advancement or the gospel advancers. He's literally impacted like millions of lives and led millions of people to Jesus because of their nonprofit. So it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, so good. All right. Well, we have a lot in store. We're excited to have you guys on the journey with us. And like we
Absolutely.
said, Tim and I, we're not going anywhere. Not that we know of. I mean, nobody knows for sure, right? But at the same time, we love serving you guys. We love coming alongside you and your new nonprofit. Uh,
Yeah.
we want to support you in making it come to life. So if you've got that dream in your heart to get this nonprofit either started or growing, if you're like kind of at that stage where you're just like, we keep hitting the ceiling, we have a special program that's specifically for the advanced side of those nonprofits. So we've got a place for you, whether you are in the early stages or you're trying to grow it. And we'd love to support you in that. So on that note, we will wrap up today's conversation. We'll see you on the podcast, or we'll see you inside of the academy. We love you guys, and can't wait to hear from you as to what's going on with your nonprofit. So, all
Yes. Love you
right,
guys.
Tim. Thanks, Aaron, for your help on the inside. Appreciate each of you, and you will all get the recording after this is done. Okay,
Yeah.
so stay tuned. We'll try and get it out to you within the next 24 hours, and we'll get you more details about the academy as well. So, all right, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.